So very, very, very decision. So thanks for having me on board, Wilson, and I come from an organisation, Ashoka. We support social entrepreneurs all around the world. We've been going for about 30 years now. We've supported 3,000 social entrepreneurs. The social entrepreneurs we support need to have a brand new idea. It needs to be a systems changing idea. It needs to be able to go to scale to a national or an international level. And one of the last criteria, which is always the most difficult, I guess, and relatively subjective, is around an individual ethical fibre as to whether they're in it for the social reasons rather than for-profit money reasons. But that said, we support individuals that come up with any vehicle that's necessary to overcome a social problem. So they might create a business, they might create a charity, or they might create something in between. And we help them by giving them a little bit of financial support, as in £40,000 to £50,000 over a 3-year period, or strategic support for a lifeline to help them take their idea to a national or an international level. I'm going to start by my favourite subject, a little bit about me and my journey and what brought me to Ashoka. And in doing so, hopefully, talk a little bit about social entrepreneurship. It's a slightly difficult concept to grasp. If not come across it, it certainly has a reputation for being a little bit woolly, a little bit fluffy. What is this? Is it charity? Is it business? And so hopefully it will become very clear. So my involvement in social entrepreneurship began in 2004. A mate of mine had come back from one of these gap years teaching in Tanzania. I was pretty ignorant, I guess, to some of the challenges that the education system in Tanzania were facing. And he just said, could I help him collect a few books to take to the school that he had been teaching in? He invited me to the fact that the education system in Tanzania is based on the British model, and there's a massive demand for books. Everything's taught at secondary school in English. Maybe we can take some books that were 2 to 3 years old here that we're throw them in. If they were good enough, relevant enough, maybe we can take them there. Anyway, we started testing some books. We then started something called Read International. I'll talk a tiny bit about that. That kind of went massive. And then last year, since I'm reading the book actually out of East Africa, I handed over to the new director, embarked on a journey from Cape Town to Cairo with my wife to write a book about social entrepreneurs in Africa. And I've also started up something called NoPC. Like any good entrepreneur, I think we're showing the self-promotional plugs. Started something called NoPC, published an article called Ripped, and now I work at Ashoka. So Read International, like I said, we just started as a bunch of mates. We're actually in our final year at Nottingham University at the time, collecting some books for this other friend of ours. And I guess we recognised that there were, it's not a new idea, there were organisations taking books to Africa. We sort of saw some organisations maybe becoming published from Africa rather than really focusing on the relevant, good quality, up-to-date materials. And so we started collecting a lot of books. We took 25,000 books in our first year, and then that kind of scaled. We scaled it by working with other university students around the UK. So we started with a bunch of mates in Nottingham, but then we ended up getting other universities involved. By the time I moved on last year, we had 50 different universities involved. We still do now. 1,000 student volunteers working from those universities to collect books. We've developed in the early years a real sexy bit of software. We just scan the ISBN barcode on the back of the book, and that tells us whether the book is relevant to the education system in Tanzania. If it's not relevant, then we sell it online. So we don't send anything containing politics, philosophy, or anything that's going to be culturally irrelevant or sensitive. We won't send that, but we'll sell it in the UK online, use that money to then pay for the relevant books that will be sent. But if they're relevant, they will always be sent, even if they're worth hundreds of pounds. Relevance is always the number one for us, and then if we get economic value from the ones that are, we'll send them. And then we recycle the ones that aren't relevant or we can't sell, and we get a little bit of money for that. We've got some corporate partnerships that gave us a bit of a name for us. So big yellow storage with a free storage space wherever we work. KPMG was a free office space out in East Africa. British Airways have just free flights over to East Africa where we can work. We're a partnership with British Library who developed this app for us. We work with British Gas, the BG group out in East Africa, give some financial support that would be migration out there. Anyway, I could go on, but I have to do this shameless plug for Korea International, as it still considered my baby, even though I had technically handed it over. And we won a whole load of awards and recognition, which was great. And then my wife and I decided to embark on this journey. I guess from being a white middle-class guy out in East Africa trying to work in development, you have all of those standard question marks that we ask ourselves. And I started to see some incredible African social entrepreneurs that were driving grassroots change. And I wanted to find out more about that. I found that really fascinating, really interesting, and I felt that would probably be more sustainable than the work we were doing at International, which I'm still very proud of. I felt that maybe we could profile African social entrepreneurs doing that. Fascinating. So my wife and I managed to raise the money from a foundation called Winston Churchill Memorial Trust. We then funded this journey. We wanted to inspire others to drive change. We wanted to profile what this concept of social entrepreneurship actually is. And we wanted to demonstrate that on the whole, Africa is a continent on the up. We wanted to tell some of those good news stories that you would never ever hear about when you turn on the news. Because bad news is good news, bad news sells. And we wanted to tell some good news stories. So, I'm just going to profile 3 of the social entrepreneurs we met. We did meet over 20, and then we profiled 18 of the social entrepreneurs in our book on the up. And we met Betty in Zimbabwe. Betty's got a very harrowing story, actually, a very powerful story. Betty was raped as a child. She completely suppressed this and never told anybody. And just saw it as one of those things that happened. She knew that this kind of thing was happening to some other girls in the village and some other girls in neighbouring villages as well. But as a young girl, she obviously was not empowered to do anything about that. Very few young girls are. She ended up becoming a teacher though, and as a teacher, a young girl did come to her and told her that she'd been raped. At that time, Betty just kind of imploded. She just recognised that she'd suppressed this raw emotion for a long time and hadn't done anything about it. And she was now in this position that maybe she could do something about it. She could use a horrific personal experience to potentially do some good. So she started a club at the school that she was teaching in, and she called it the Good Old Trial Club. And she wanted to get all of the girls in the school to join the club, no boys allowed, and girls would come together, they'd sing songs, they'd talk about issues at home, they'd talk about issues in the village, and ultimately they'd talk about how they could be empowered and how they could empower each other, and a lot of peer-to-peer support. The girl club that she started then scaled and now works in hundreds of schools across Zimbabwe. They've helped hundreds of thousands of girls to be empowered through these girl empowerment clubs. Ashoka, the organisation I now work for, has supported Betty to now take this idea across Africa, where she's franchising them all in other countries. She's selling some of the services that she's learned from setting up these clubs to some other charitable organisations that also want to, some organisations like the Girl Effect, that are fascinated to learn from individuals like Betty, who have a lot of business now and have been able to scale their enterprise nationally throughout Zimbabwe, how they can take that to other countries, how they can replicate it. One of the saddest was interesting elements of Betty's story is that in Zimbabwe we had to actually conduct a lot of the interviews by Skype because she's now based in the UK. She was exiled for the work that she does because a senior minister was involved in a rape scandal, and she would take on anyone. There's no one that would not go without justice. So Betty Jacob, on this case, ended up being in prison several times and finally was warned this really will be the last opportunity you should really flee. And so she's managed to scale this draft actually from the UK. Next up was Peter. Peter was one of our favourite social entrepreneurs actually that we met. Peter's a self-confessed Playboy millionaire turned environmental activist. Peter in his glory days was flying around in a private jet to parties on a Friday night because he heard about a good party. He made his millions selling names to the Congo. One day just woke up and decided, I don't want to sell names to the Congo anymore. I want to take on the mining industry in northern Zambia. He was from the copper belt area of northern Zambia, and he recognised that a lot of international mining companies were coming in, making a lot of money, but not in any way taking responsibility for what they left behind them, or in the process of mining, any pollution that they were shedding out. They were in no way technical, so I'm sure there's lots of technical jargon around this, but obviously where a mine is digging underground, the earth is shifting above. A lot of houses were starting to crumble, some houses completely fell down, and the mining companies did absolutely nothing about that. So thousands of voices started to come together. Peter managed to unite them and say, well, this isn't right, I'm sure we can do something. So then Peter represents the people of Zambia in court, as you did, and on the whole wins. These are everyday people like you and I. They're in no way heroes to be idolised. He recognised the problem and thought there's a solution here. We just need to speak up for the voiceless. He was incredibly passionate about this. He wanted to do something. He was furious and has won, like I say, won against huge international mining firms, Anglo-American, big Chinese companies as well. An amazing story. He's also going to help Ashoka franchising his model around Africa. And then finally, I'll just tell you a quick story about Bart. Bart, as you can probably tell, I guess, isn't an African, but we just had to tell his story. He's a Danish ex-punk rocker turned Zen Buddhist monk who trains rats to sniff out landmines. And as you do, of course you do. And he was a disillusioned marketing professional that got a bit bored in Denmark, making good money, and had always had a passion for rodents. When he was a young boy, he was given a couple of hamsters, and he recognised that if you put these two hamsters in a cage, wonderful things happen, baby hamsters appear. And he started selling these baby hamsters down the local pet shop. And that was his first enterprise as a real entrepreneur. Made a little bit of pocket money, but always had a love for rodents. And when he was having this disillusioned moment as a marketing professional, he read about the landmine issue. It was actually Princess Diana at the time, that was all over the press. And he thought, oh wow, maybe I can try and do something about this. But where most of us think, maybe I can do something about this, he was thinking, maybe I can do something about this with rats. And he knew the rats had an incredibly acute sense of smell, and was reading about the fact that you can clear landmines normally with dogs and sniffer dogs. But he was thinking, well, these sniffer dogs must be incredibly expensive to train and to feed, and apparently dogs only perform for their one trainer, quite often a Western trainer that, again, demands a much higher salary. You have to fly out the trainer and the dog to a part of the world that has a landmine issue. It doesn't tend to be a Western world problem. He knew that rats would do anything for a banana. And so he realised that they didn't need to they weren't loyal to one trainer. They were only loyal to bananas. And so he trains rats in Tanzania. And then he ships them over to Mozambique, where they've cleared millions of square metres of land. They can sniff a landmine up to a metre under the ground. They can smell the TNT of the explosive. And they're so light as well. You can be really sure that they're so light that they won't set off the landmine. So there will be some people in the room who will be thinking, as we said we did when we arrived, what the wicked thing they're about to go into. But no, they don't just release rats. Rats will very carefully smell the TNT and they'll scratch the surface and then they'll bring in line of water. But again, it's come up with an incredible model, something he was interested in, something he was passionate about, he saw a problem, which is a normal guy, and he thought, maybe I could put this idea I've got to this problem, and then find a solution. And you can do it at a much lower cost than the traditional farm companies. One of the challenges that Bart's facing is that people don't trust rats very much, but also the mind in this business is that it's a business dominated by big ex-military contractors. I'm sure you can imagine that kind of environment quite difficult to tap into and to win contracts. I'm sure they're all pretty fair. And then he's actually also taking it a stage further and probably practicing out landmines. Maybe they can take on other world problems. And so he's now training rats to detect TB as well. I don't know if anyone knows, but if you have TB, the way that you would be diagnosed is pretty identified. Just spits into a beaker, and then you look through your spit through a microscope and you see bacteria in the sputum. Anyway, that takes the scientists about 30 minutes, and they quite often get it wrong. It takes a rat about 2 seconds, and they've got about a 99% success rate. So Bart has been taking all of the samples from the local hospital that don't have TB, because the scientists have looked through a microscope, they spent 20 minutes on it, definitely doesn't have TB. So he says, okay, well, I'll take all of these samples, get some rats on the case, rats within a few minutes, go through all of these samples, and then detect TB in a few of them. He sends those back to the clinic, another 30 minutes looking through the microscope at the samples, and the doctor said, the rats are right. So that's the project he's now trying to take around the world. He's also interested in rats working in mines and airports around the world as well to detect drugs. So don't be surprised if one day there's something going through the airport and you've got rats sniffing people. Nicky wasn't brave enough to hold on and being probably one of the rats which are adorable actually, but they're really super cute. I'll say that. Okay, so let's go talk a tiny bit about Ashoka. I'll try and first it doesn't go over, and I'd love to put some questions there. But Ashoka, so I hadn't really come across Ashoka before taking this journey, but half the people we met were supported by Ashoka. So when I got back to London, knocked on the door of Ashoka, this was about 7 months ago, and just said, what you're doing is incredible. The people that you're supporting are just wonderful people. They're very motivated to help. Part of it was the part of the book that I've just written, so I was thinking, Ashoka could be good to sell a book. Maybe that would be a good network. But no, then I realised there's an opportunity to actually come aboard and work with Ashoka. So some of my experience I've had at Read International to provide support to some social entrepreneurs here in the UK. So we support 15 social entrepreneurs in the UK. Like I said, we've got 3,000 social entrepreneurs all around the world. We've got 25 offices. We're able to work with our fellows on anything from education to health to political reform. We don't touch government money, we never take on government money. Most of our money comes from the business community. Quite a lot of it comes from successful business entrepreneurs, high net worth individuals who give us an annual donation, and then they give their time and support as well. So we hold monthly round tables with our fellows, and then the successful business entrepreneurs use their business models and experience and all important of that book to help that social entrepreneur take their idea to a national or an international scale. And then we work with global brands, organisations, companies like Barclays and MasterCard. I spent Wednesday actually with Jerry from Ben Jerry's, which was great fun. What an awesome guy, really down-to-earth guy, having started something like Ben Jerry's. Like a lot of others actually, a lot of big global brands work with us to help identify and support social entrepreneurs. If you are interested in Ashoka anyway, then obviously visit the website Ashoka.org. There's a lot of synergy with TVM, the great work that CVN's doing as well. And if you are an aspiring social entrepreneur yourself, please do go to one of our platforms, which is changemaker. It's the changemakers.com platform, where you can put your idea. It's a change shop, and then we connect you with funders all around the world that are interested in taking these ideas and supporting them. So that is me, and I'd love it if I can have a couple of minutes for some questions.